Our next speaker, an experienced public relations professional, Lisa Skierka, is the chair of Equal Voice Alberta South, an organization dedicated to electing more women to all levels of public office in Canada. Lisa is putting the spotlight on equality. Please help me welcome her to the front.
If you asked me 4 or 5 years ago if I was a feminist, I would have shrugged casually and said, probably. After all, I believed in equality and equal rights and equal pay for equal work. I was employed at a not-for-profit that was heavily dominated by men, but my team was smart, diverse, flexible, and full of promise. Most importantly, I had a great boss. I was doing okay. If I had a problem, I'd talk to my dad and he'd say, toughen up, you're playing with the big boys now. If I was concerned about the lack of diversity in senior leadership, I was told, that's just the way it is. No one else wants this job. If I saw a problem and spoke up, I was generally misdirected or redirected or ignored. There was something wrong within the organization, and I thought all I had to do was work harder in order to fix it. A few years ago, I began working with my brothers at a startup, and that has been awesome. But somewhere in there, I realized it was time to give back to other women, to volunteer for a good cause, and basically balance my karma after years of working in male-dominated industries. That's when I started more actively supporting Equal Voice, a multi-partisan organization focused on encouraging more women to run for political office. At Equal Voice, we have an amazing program called Daughters of the Vote. If you know a young woman who loves politics, this program will help her become more equipped and inspired to participate in the formal political sphere. But we do more than run programs and speak up for a good cause. We work with all major political parties to encourage them to ask more women to run. We provide workshops and events and support, and we build women up to reach their potential. Because Equal Voice regards the equal representation of women in Canada's Parliament, in our provincial and territorial legislatures, and on municipal and band councils as a fundamental question of fairness for women in terms of their access to Canada's democratic institutions. There is also strong evidence that shows more diverse organizations have better governance and make better decisions. Yet in the Me Too era, does any of this make a difference? Just 1 year ago, the Me Too hashtag was rejuvenated as a series of allegations took over the entertainment industry. This kicked into high gear in early 2018 amidst the Weinstein scandals and every fast-moving Hollywood accusation that followed. As we bounced from one terrible story to the next, with traditional and social media focusing on the worst of the worst, words like equality and equity became tied up with something bigger and more powerful. But what does that mean for regular people living in the regular world? How can we push for more equality or even equity in a climate of extremes, where it seems like every transgression becomes fodder for online chatter? How can we instigate real change in a world filled with hyperbole? For me, equity is about creating access and equal opportunity. It's not about taking opportunities away, it's about opening them up. It's about taking into account solid data that shows that organizations with a commitment to promoting gender, equity, and diversity at the highest levels simply do better. It is also about understanding that our accomplishments are more substantial when our leadership is more representative of our communities. Since 2016, I have been working with the City of Calgary to encourage better representation of women. In 2017, Calgary City Council adopted a notice of motion on gender equity and diversity. This is a big move for them, but what about Lethbridge? Politically, Lethbridge is doing okay. Our 3 senior politicians are women: Lethbridge MP Rachel Harder, Lethbridge East MLA Maria Fitzpatrick, and Lethbridge West MLA and Minister of Environment and Parks Shannon Phillips. This is substantial. But at City Hall, Councillor Belinda Crowson is the lone woman on a council of 9. And I think Lethbridge can do better. I'm not talking about timelines or quotas or electing people for reasons other than merit. I am saying that we are losing qualified, accomplished women from the electoral process, and it is affecting our city's ability to govern to the highest possible standard. This is not about elections and candidates. It's about putting aside our preconceived ideas about gender roles and truly looking at the benefits of improved representation. From there, it's about recognizing that there are inherent barriers for women. This includes the gender pay gap, which shows that on average, women in Canada make 74 cents on the dollar compared to men in the same jobs. I should note that these numbers are even lower for Indigenous and women of color, and that the gender pay gap in Canada is more than twice the global average. As citizens, if we are serious about building better governance, we are at a turning point. It's time for public institutions to create spaces for women with young children, opening up access to the family's primary caregivers. And we need to ask more women to run. At Equal Voice, I meet so many capable women, and I always ask them to get more involved. If they're not sure where to start, I make introductions and help build connections. If I can do this, so can you. Let's build better government together, one qualified candidate at a time.